This is Columbus Concerns, a public affairs presentation of North American Broadcasting. Here's your host, Mark News.
And thanks so much for joining us today on Columbus Concerns. With us are two representatives from the Cystic Fibrosis Foundation, Jennifer Hughes and Amy D'Angelo. Thanks so much for being here.
Thanks for having us.
It's great to see you both again. And Amy, for those who don't know, tell us what is cystic fibrosis?
Yeah, sure. Cystic fibrosis, we refer to it as CF. It's a progressive genetic disease that causes persistent lung infections and really limits the ability to breathe over time. People with CF say that having it is kind of like trying to breathe through a straw, if you can imagine that. It's really very difficult. Cystic fibrosis is a small disease relative to the other diseases out there. There's only about 30,000 people in the United States that have CF, and only 70,000 worldwide. Ohio itself has the fifth largest population with around 1,500 patients.
And so what does the CF Foundation do to try to help those people who are affected?
The mission of the foundation is to cure cystic fibrosis, of course, and to provide all of the people that have the disease the opportunity to lead full and productive lives by funding research and drug development, promoting individualized treatment, and, of course, ensuring access to high-quality specialized care that they need.
And Jennifer, is there any progress toward a cure for cystic fibrosis?
Absolutely. Yes, we're actually quite close. So currently there's a drug in phase 3 clinical trials that has the ability to positively affect over 90% of our CF population, which is incredible. However, there's still that 10% that has no cure on the horizon at all. So our job is not to stop until we find a cure for all.
And how do we support that effort?
So there's several ways to support CF. One of the best ways is through our local chapter events held here in Columbus. You can donate, sponsor, or volunteer at any of our events, and you can find them all on our chapter website at cff.org/Central Ohio.
Amy D'Angelo and Jennifer Hughes are here from the Cystic Fibrosis Foundation, and one of the things we'd like to talk about are their fall events coming up. They've got a lot of fun planned. So, Amy, tell us about the 3 events that are coming up this fall.
Sure, absolutely. We've got a lot of exciting things coming up for the end of the year here. The first one that's right around the corner is our Cycle for Life event. That's going to be held on September 21st at Alum Creek Beach. Riders can choose to participate in a 20, 40, or a 65-mile ride. Going to be plenty of food and rest stops along the way. And you can go ahead and still register for that event. We're still taking riders even today. The next after that is on October 7th, we have our Swing for CF charity golf event. This event is going to be held at OSU's Gray Course. Our foursomes that day are going to enjoy lunch, 18 holes of golf and cocktails and hors d'oeuvres after, and lots of fun activities while they're out on the course that day. Our last event this fall, I'm pretty excited about this one, is our Sips and Giggles wine and beer tasting and comedy show. Now, this event is a little bit new for us. It's going to be held at the Hilton Polaris, and it offers guests wine tastings from over 20 different wineries and beer tastings from over 6 local craft breweries here in Columbus. All of the food is catered by Eddie Merlot. And at one point in time in the night, we're going to head into the Comedy Lounge for a comedy club show. That's going to feature some great headlining acts, a lot of fun, a lot of laughs, and it's really kind of like a perfect date night to end the fall season before you get into the craziness of the holidays.
And again, the website to find out more information about these events.
Sure, www.cff.org/Central Ohio.
And Jennifer, tell us a little bit about other ways that you get people involved in the mission of the CF Foundation.
Sure, we have a couple other different ways that we try to get involved with our young professionals here in the Columbus community. So the first is called Tomorrow's Leaders, where interested 25 to 45-year-old young professionals can join us for monthly programs. These are based on specific professional development segments or leadership topics, as well as fun networking happy hour events. They can gain skills and have great networking opportunities while making a difference in the lives of those with CF. The other program that we have for young professionals is the Columbus's Brewers Ball. This is a new event for us where we are actually celebrating the 6th class of our Columbus Finest Young Professionals. The Brewers Ball will take place on March 5th, 2020 at View Columbus Downtown. It's a celebration of Columbus's finest young professionals. We honor a select group of men and women from around Central Ohio who are committed to professional growth through a guided fundraising and awareness campaign. Nominations for those young professionals are going on right now, actually. So if anyone is interested in getting involved in this campaign, they can also check our website at www.cff.org/Central Ohio. They can also call our chapter office at 614-890-6565. The finale event at the conclusion of this 17-week campaign celebrates all of our honorees, their successes in the community, philanthropy, and the industry as a whole. So we invite several of our local breweries and restaurants for a festive celebration. It includes live entertainment, samples from all of our vendors, silent auction, and so much more.
Well, it sounds like it's going to be a busy fall for the CF Foundation, the Cystic Fibrosis Foundation of Central Ohio. And our guests on the program today have been Jennifer Hughes and Amy D'Angelo. And Amy, again, the website, if people have want more information about your events coming up.
Absolutely. It's www.cff.org/Central Ohio, or you can always call us at 614-890-6565.
Jennifer and Amy, thank you so much for being here today. It's good to see you again.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks for having us.
Coming up on Columbus Concerns, we're going to hear from Governor DeWine as he talks more about the background check program that he's proposing here in Ohio for gun sales. Again, that's coming up next on Columbus Concerns. Stay with us.
Shortness of breath, patient's confused, temp 102.
He just had an infection. What's going on?
He's becoming septic.
Antibiotics started, bed ready, let's move him.
Infections can lead to a deadly chain reaction in your body called sepsis. Very quickly, sepsis can cause tissue damage, organ failure, and even death. If you know the risks, can spot the symptoms, and act fast, then you can get ahead of sepsis. Learn more at cdc.gov/sepsis.
Has your child swallowed your medicine, your laundry detergent, your nail polish remover? Call the Poison Helpline. Have you inhaled paint thinner, glue, pesticides? Call the Poison Helpline. Have a question about a dose, a fume, something your kid just drank? Call the Poison Helpline. Poisonings can happen at the home, on the job, or in the great outdoors. Call the Poison Helpline first for fast, free advice from medical professionals. Call 1-800-222-1222 anytime, anywhere. 1-800-222-1222. Save the number, save a life. Brought to you by the U.S. Department of Health and Human Services.
And again, you're listening to Columbus Concerns, a public affairs presentation of North American Broadcasting. Recently, following the mass shooting in Dayton, Governor DeWine set forth some new proposals for background checks here in Central Ohio on gun sales. He talked about that in a recent press conference.
2 days after the tragedy in Dayton, we announced a 17-point plan that we are calling Strong Ohio. Today, Lieutenant Governor John Houston and I are announcing another piece of this plan. Criminal history information submitted to Ohio's law enforcement automated system called LEADS and the National Crime Information Center called NCIC is dangerously deficient. When I was Attorney General, I found that some of our Ohio courts were failing to follow the law, requiring them to send dispositions and mental health adjudications to BCI for entry into these law enforcement databases. Now, let me just mention one of the challenges is that there are 1,400 entry points around the state. We then immediately began working with the non-compliant courts to get this critical information into these systems. When critical information is missing, bad things happen. For example, law enforcement could encounter a suspect with a violent criminal history and not know it. A school could unknowingly hire a teacher with a criminal record and not know it. Or a federally licensed firearms dealer could unknowingly sell a gun to someone with a disqualifying conviction because that conviction simply did not show up in the background check. Law enforcement could encounter a subject with a violent criminal history and have no idea. For example, could pull over someone on the highway, If the data was not in the database when that officer walks up to that car, that officer would have no idea that this could be a dangerous individual. This is what happened in Texas in 2017. A man's disqualifying domestic violence conviction was not entered. His background check came back clean. He purchased a gun and then walked into a church and killed 26 people. That gun sale could have been prevented had the right information been in his background check. The submission of dispositions and mental health adjudications by Ohio's courts improved, got better when I was Attorney General. But they're not where they should be. And now as governor, I'm in a position where we can do a lot more. Examinations by Ohio's 218 National Instant Criminal Background Check System, or NICS, that compliance working group that was put together originally under Governor Casey, as well as my Ohio Warrant Task Force. Both groups found that there are other serious flaws in the way Ohio shares criminal justice information, and that these must be addressed. Now is the time for us to act, and that's what I intend to do. Today I'm announcing that as part of our forthcoming Strong Ohio legislation that we are recommending to the General Assembly, we will be taking action to enhance the state and federal background check systems. Unlike the requirement for the entry of dispositions and mental health adjudications into LEADS and NCIC, there is currently, amazingly, there's currently no law in Ohio requiring the entry of warrants for violent crimes and protection orders into these systems. Let me say it again. There's no law in Ohio requiring the entry of warrants for violent crimes and nor for protection orders into this system. This makes absolutely no sense. This again puts our law enforcement officers at risk each day. It puts our citizens at risk, and it increases the chance that someone who shouldn't buy a gun will walk into a store and be able to buy one. Domestic violence and sexual assault into LEADS and NCIC within 48 hours of issuance. I think the average citizen in Ohio today would assume that that already is required under Ohio law. This Tier 1 warrant offense list was developed this year by members of my Ohio Warrant Task Force. It was one of their recommendations. I formed this task force shortly after taking office to study the issue of unserved warrants in the state. And again, I think these facts will shock the average Ohioan. Our working group estimated that they're at a bare minimum 500,000 open warrants today in the state of Ohio. Yet, only 217,000 of those were entered into the state LEADS system. And of those, only 18,117 were entered into the federal system. What will happen, what can happen is obvious. For this large number of these individuals, if someone is outside their county, law enforcement will have no idea when they run them that there's an outstanding warrant for their arrest. And if someone leaves the state of Ohio, only a small portion of this 500,000 will show up in any kind of search that is done by law enforcement. Only a little over 18,000 of them. It means that law enforcement officers from one jurisdiction could pull over a wanted violent offender from another jurisdiction and have no idea that they were dangerous or that there was an outstanding warrant for their arrest. This is clearly a safety issue for law enforcement, and it's a safety issue for the public. NCIC is also one of the tools that the FBI uses when conducting point-of-sale background checks for federally licensed firearm dealers through NICS. I think this shows why, another reason why it is so important that this information be entered into both the federal and to the state systems. As identified by the 2018 NICS working group appointed by Governor Kasich, warrant and protection orders must be entered into the state and national systems to improve the completeness of NICS. Otherwise, the NICS background checks of those prohibited from purchasing a firearm will come back clean. They will be inaccurate. Responsible gun shop owners do not want to sell a gun to someone who should not have one. So when a dealer calls NICS for a background check, they depend on that information, and the public depends on that information to be accurate and complete. And when it is not, the system is failing these business owners and certainly is failing the public as well. We must act now to fix this problem. Mandating the entry of these warrants and mandating the protection orders, they must be reported into LEADS and NCIC, will certainly make more work for law enforcement and for the courts. But let me be clear. Many agencies are already doing this on their own, though many are not. Today, the process to enter this information takes time and is cumbersome. The cost of implementation is often paid by the local governments. In fact, it usually is. Both working groups that I have referenced, also recommend a statewide system to make this process easier and more uniformly to be adopted. We have an obligation to make this easy, simple for local government, local officials to do. We have an obligation for the state to pay for this. The time to act is now. We must work to make this system work better. I've asked Lieutenant Governor Houston, who is the Director of Innovate Ohio, to begin work on creating a technological solution. He and Innovate Ohio will develop a program to make it easier and less time-consuming to get warrant and protection order information where it needs to go.
And that's Governor DeWine talking about his proposals to increase background checks for gun sales. Thanks so much for joining us today on Columbus Concerns. I'm Mark News.
Thanks for listening to Columbus Concerns, a public affairs presentation of North American Broadcasting. You can send questions or comments about today's show to Columbus Concerns in care of this station, 1458 Dublin Road, Columbus 43215. Or email us at columbusconcerns@napcomedia.com.
Some say e-cigarettes aren't dangerous,
but science shows nicotine can harm teens' developing brains.
no matter how they're exposed.
Let's do an experiment to find out.
Here's a teen who won't be using e-cigarettes.
Now we need one willing to risk their brain development.
Anyone care to volunteer your kid?
Anyone?
Your kids are not an experiment. Protect them from e-cigarettes.
Opiates has taken everything and everyone I've ever loved away from me. Everything.
I blew my ankle out and I got prescribed pain pills by my doctor.
If making my detox public is gonna help somebody, I'm all for it. I just wish I would have had a warning.
Opioid dependence can happen after just 5 days. Know the truth, spread the truth. A message from Truth, the Ad Council, and ONDCP.
Has your child swallowed your medicine, your laundry detergent, your nail polish remover? Call the Poison Helpline. Have you inhaled paint thinner, glue, pesticides? Call the Poison Helpline. Have a question about a dose, a fume, something your kid just drank? Call the Poison Helpline. Poisonings can happen at the home, on the job, or in the great outdoors. Call the Poison Helpline first for fast, free advice from medical professionals. Call 1-800-222-1222 anytime, anywhere. 1-800-222-1222. Save the number, save a life. Brought to you by the U.S. Department of Health and Human Services.